created 1.5 million more jobs than in the first 3 years of your presidency.
They had the slowest recovery since economic recovery since 1929. It was the slowest recovery. Also, they took over something that was down here. All you had to do is turn on the lights and you pick up a lot. But they had the slowest economic recovery since 1929. Let me tell you about the stock market. When the stock market goes up, that means jobs. It also means 401ks. If you got in, if you ever became president with your ideas, you want to terminate my taxes, I'll tell you what, you'll lose half of the companies that have poured in here will leave, and plenty of companies that are already here, they'll leave for other places. He made a statement.
So did you.
People want their schools. No, people want their schools open. They don't want to be shut down. They don't want their state shut down. They want their restaurants. I look at New York. It's so sad what's happening in New York. It's almost like a ghost town, and I'm not sure it can ever recover what they've done in New York. People want their places open. They want to get back to their lives. People, smart about you, Joe. 47 years, you've done nothing.
Let's have this debate.
All right, gentlemen.
Wait a minute, Chris. So why didn't he do it for 47 years? You were vice president. Why didn't you get the world? China sends up real dirt into the air. Russia does. India does. They all do. We're supposed to be good. And by the way, he takes out billions of dollars, to manage. He makes millions of dollars. And also, while we're at it, why is it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million. What did he do to deserve it? What did he do with Burisma to deserve $183,000?
None of that is true. Let him answer.
None of that is true.
Oh, really? He didn't get $3.5 million?
Mr. President,
Mr.
President, please.
Totally discredited. Totally discredited. And by the way,
well, wait, he didn't get $3.5 million, Joe?
Mr. Vice,
he got $3.5 million.
That is not true.
Oh, really?
Mr. President, it's an open discussion, please.
So we can have it a lot sooner. It's a very political thing because people like this would rather make it political than save lives. It is a very political thing. I've spoken to.
Welcome, everybody, to the Glory Soapbox. Let's talk about Trump. A lot has been happening since he took office. There has been a lot of exposure, a lot of things that are coming to the surface. Although this exposure has been taking place well before he took office the first time around. I did a video on the real reasons why they despise Trump, and I'll go ahead and leave that link below. But nonetheless, over the last 3 weeks, there has been more exposure. And so this is not the first time that things have come to the surface with regards to politicians or the government. It has happened over the years, maybe not to this degree, but it has happened before. And usually what happens is things get exposed, people get exposed, and then it blows over. And then we go right back to the way things were until the next exposure. And the reality is that exposure alone is not enough. Anybody, anything, any organization can survive exposure. It's understanding that brings real change. Without understanding, revelation is meaningless. That's why in the scriptures, it instructs us, above all, gain understanding. Okay? So in this video, we're going to seek the understanding that is needed to create lasting change. Because if we don't seek the understanding, once Trump leaves office in 4 years, we're going to go right back to the way it was. Okay? So let's talk about it. From the moment Donald Trump entered politics, this is well before his first presidency, he began revealing long-standing myths about the U.S. government and politics. Now, the establishment is hoping that the American people won't recognize what these truths are or will not gain the understanding, because it's through the understanding that change happens, not through exposure. They're hoping that the American people, with time, will overlook them and move on, right? That was the motto of their last campaign, turn the page. Once Trump leaves office, they're hoping, because it has happened over and over, that the American people will turn the page once again. Now, there are three main myths that Trump's presidency, Trump's existence in the political arena has brought to light. And the first one is career politicians. The presence of Trump has exposed that career politicians do not serve the American people. They serve their own interests and their donors. Now, during a 2020 debate with Joe Biden, Trump asked the same question repeatedly that many people did not catch on to it. Many people overlooked it. Okay? Now, you may not like Trump, whether you like him or don't like him. One thing you can say about him, he is very, very perceptive, and he catches on to things that the average person does not. And as you've seen in the clips, he asks the same question over and over and over in these debates, not only to Biden, but he asked the same questions to Hillary Clinton when she was running. If you had any intention of fixing these issues, why haven't you done it in the 47 years plus that you've been in office? And not one time was this question ever answered. Not one time. And you can go back and see some of the clips of this. And why don't they answer the question? Because career politicians campaign on the same problems, election after election, without solving them, because those problems is the fuel for their political careers. If they don't have a problem to run on, they don't have a political career. Now, if you go back down memory lane, you will see that the same issues being protested today are the same issues that were being protested and brought up 40 years ago. And what happens when those issues, those concerns fade away? Career politicians make it their job to revive them, because they need these problems to continue running as a career politician. Now, the establishment fought hard, and I mean hard, to keep Trump out of office. It wasn't personal. They did it because they feared he would actually fix the problems, because they had no intention of solving the issues. Now, during his first campaign, they promoted career politician as the better option due to their experience. That was their argument. The more years you had in Washington, the better the candidate due to their experience. But yet that experience had done little to improve the lives of the American people. And Trump's first presidency exposed this lie, this myth, because he shows up and in 4 years, he did more than any other president prior to him. Now, some people did catch on to this reality, and then you have the establishment that has tried to spin it and try to say that the Trump success was based on the previous administration, Obama. Try to take credit because they don't want the American people to realize that if they really want to fix the problems to make this country a great country, that yes, they can do it, but they choose not to. Now, in the scriptures, it tells us in Matthew 7:15 through 20, it tells us, beware of false prophets who come in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. By their fruit you will recognize them. Now, a lot of people use the scriptures in the Bibles just to refer to the church setting. The scriptures are to be applied to life. A false prophet is anybody that is pretending to be something that they're not. And how do you know someone is false? Whether it's somebody in the church, somebody running for political office, somebody that is trying to gain access to your inner circle, how can you tell somebody is false? Okay. And it tells us that you know them by their fruit. And what exactly is their fruit? It is their track record. The track record does not lie. People can tell you what they want to tell you. They can make up stories. They can hide their past. I'm sorry, they can hide their past. They can do all sorts of things. But the fruit, which is the results of their lives, their track records, will always reveal who people are. It's not about how long someone has been in office. It's not about their race or their words, their fancy words, or what they look like. It's about actions and results. The fruit of their lives is based on actions and results. Now, in the case of Biden, if you go back for someone that has been in office for 47 plus years, well, now it's 50 plus, I think. He has done more to enrich himself and his family than he has for this country. That alone should tell you all you need to know. And in the meantime, you have a candidate, well, now President Trump, that has done in a very short time more for this country and has lost, if anything, he has lost money in the process. That is the candidate that you want. That is the president that you want. Okay? So, number two, the second myth that has been exposed, especially over the last 3 weeks, is the president actually has more power than they wanted the American people to realize. For years, politicians, career politicians, convinced the public that the president had limited power, while Congress was responsible for enacting change, right? You hear they would say Congress is, they're the ones in charge of the purse strings, right? That's what they would say. And when problems persisted, presidents blamed Congress, and then Congress would blame each other. Democrats would blame Republicans, Republicans would blame Democrats. It was like a ping pong game going back and forth, or a tennis game. It was an endless cycle where either nothing got done or very little got done. And then they tried the same tactic when Kamala Harris was running for president. When people questioned how her being president will be any different than her being vice president, especially on the border. And so they try to downplay her authority. And they try to sell the narrative that she had no real authority. Now, has she become president, she would have continued the same cycle of blaming Congress instead of taking action. And Trump shattered this illusion, this myth, by signing executive orders after executive order after executive order, proving that a president has far more power than we were led to believe. Now, the third myth that has been exposed by Trump is big government does not benefit the people. Big government wants you to believe it exists to help the people. But the truth is, the government cannot give you what it hasn't already taken away from you. Government doesn't create wealth, it does not create prosperity. It can only redistribute it. Let's take, for example, tax refunds. A lot of people get excited tax time because they're expecting these tax refunds. And the truth is, the government isn't giving you money. It's actually returning what it took from you throughout the year, interest free. Imagine what you could have done with that money in your pocket throughout the year. So big government thrives when people struggle because dependence on the system makes control easier. Big government is all about control. Their goal is not to empower the people, but to maintain power over them. Now, Trump has no personal desire to stay in power. He came in to get a job done and leave. He's not a career politician. He made his money outside of politics. And if you go back to interviews where he was asked if he would even run for president, and he had no intentions of ever running for president. And he explains why. He entered the political scene because he believed that he could turn the country around. And he did exactly that. Starting from his first term, the US experienced unprecedented economic growth, never before seen. Now, many credit the Obama administration for stabilizing the economy after the Bush era wars and implementing Obamacare. People were happy. The economy is stabilized. But then here comes Trump. And then the economy took off. It boomed in ways it hadn't under previous administrations. And very few people, while they noticed it, very few people stopped to ask, why was this level of growth possible under Trump, but not under other administrations? See, this country got used to the scraps being thrown out by the establishment while they kept the bulk of the wealth and prosperity. See, the government's role, the people forgot what the government's role is. And the government's role is to protect its people from external threats and empower them to be self sufficient. That's the role of the government. People thrive under smaller, more efficient government. Why? Because wealth and prosperity come from the private sector, not government programs. Now, as all these exposures are coming to the surface, a lot of people are focused on the Democrats. They're focused on the Democrats. And the truth is, this is not about Democrats versus Republicans. It is not. It's about a system that has taken over Washington, a system that is made up of career politicians, both Democrats and Republicans, or as Trump calls it, the swamp. And another thing that should come to light, even if someone says to themselves, I want to go ahead and run for office because I want to make a difference, which I believe is most people. I don't think most people go into this thinking that they're going to do XYZ. I think they go in with good intentions. And then when they get there, they find themselves where they have to make a choice. And the choice is conform to the system that has taken root in Washington or be pushed out. And unfortunately, as we have seen, most people have chosen to conform to the system. Why? For the love of money. Now, while the presence of Trump in the White House, his administration, has been exposing a lot of things, the establishment, the system, the people that are holding the system down or trying to hold it down, they're hoping the American people don't come to a full understanding. Why? Because once Trump leaves office, because right now they're in survival mode. This system is in survival mode. And they're trying to survive the next 4 years because they plan to regain full control. And if that happens, America will continue the same cycle it has been trapped in for decades. So, in summary, what can we learn from all this? Because, like I said, if we don't learn anything, once Trump leaves office, we're going right back to where it all started. So the first thing is you judge someone by their actions, not by what they say, not by what they look like. Everybody has a track record, especially career politicians. You don't even have to ask somebody a question. Just look at their track record and it'll tell you everything that you need to know. Overall, career politicians, they are not good options in order to keep this company, or I'm sorry, in order to keep America prosperous. There needs to be more people running the government that come from the outside with a proven track record on the outside. Number two, don't believe the lie that the president has limited power. The president actually has a significant amount of power. It's just a matter of whether they choose to use it or not. And if they choose not to use it, it is a choice that they're making. And number three, big government is never in the best interest of the people. Big government only benefits the government, nobody else. So I want to thank you all for tuning in to the Glory Soapbox.